Alright guys, what's up? It's a new patch, patch 14.12. What are we even playing? What's new? What's good? Let's get into it, okay? So, we're going to talk about S tier comps. There's a couple of new ones, and there's a couple of comps that dropped. So, one of the new ones is for Reaper Kayn and Yone. So, as you guys might have known, this comp was meta like early on in the set, but now it's kind of come back. It's really good, but the issue is, at least in Challenger, is that it's hard to win out with this comp because like there's like 2 or 3 players playing it every game, and with the limited back sizes, you can't get Yone 3. But if you can get Yone 3, it's a win out angle with like good augments too. So there's like a lot of different variants. The one that's creeping up is this 4 Reaper, 4 Bruiser variant because you could slot in a lot of synergies easily. Heavenly is not as good anymore, especially without the emblems, because your main units just get they don't get as much value out of it since it's nerf. Items always just 80 Bruiser like Titans, BT, Hand of Justice, all that. I really like Edge of Night, especially with Not Today, because if you can get upgrades to get Yone 3, Kayn 2 with Edge of Nights, probably the best late game against like the Syndra players, even the Lilia players, right? Especially the Syndra players. Oh yeah, and like the trick shot players, right? So pretty good for survival. Not much to say. A little bit like the Heavenly variant isn't as good anymore. I tried it a bunch of times, it's not that great. Okay, now let's talk about the best holders of the emblem. So typically, because you play with the Bruiser variant, or it could be 4 Umbral, by the way, if you have Reaper Silas, because then Silas becomes a legitimate threat, right? If you have the Reaper emblem and you have Silas and Yone carrying, then you can go for 4 Umbral if you get like Set or whatever, right? If you get Lee Sin, then you can maybe play like a 2 Umbral, maybe add a Kiana in there, or for like Heavenly, if you're playing the Lee Sin variant, or maybe don't play Heavenly at all and just play Aurelia Lee Sin, there's a lot of different variants. And if you high roll in Aurelia early, you can also put the Reaper emblem on her. It's top 4 comp, like I said, if you don't get Yone 3 with good items, but you can definitely top 4 off of Yone 2 and Kayn 2, especially if you have a good opener. So yeah. Next comp, I think AP Flex is really good this patch. So AD Flex is kind of dead, meaning the Last Twister IE Slam is like, it's not that great this patch. So Lilia Flex is basically AP Flex, so when you get an AP opener, like Storyweaver, whatever, a lot of times in Challenger, you'll play into Lilia. So this is the regular Lilia Morg duo carry variant. Not much to say. At level 8, instead of like Soraka, you could slot in like Wukong if you get an early Wukong. So if you had that dilemma, then yeah. I think Rakan's a bit better than Soraka as well. So yeah. But there is a variant of Lilia that's better late game. Like, the issue with Morg Lilia is sometimes like late games, stage 6, stage 7, right? And you might not be able to like win out. But if you invest into like Hui and Zyra as your carries and then put in 4 Invoker with like Addy, then you have a legitimate chance of winning out. But the issue is like you kind of have to high roll, right? You have to hit at 8 and then have enough gold to go 9 and then cap out that way. But if you're trying to like cap out from the previous board, like the Morgana board, then definitely I would try to play around Hui. Like you just like replace Morgana with Hui. That's literally it. And that is Zyra. I think it's S tier because consistency. So in TFT, you want a comp that you could play most games, and this is one of the comps you could play most games this patch. Yeah, it's good if you can hit, but the issue is there are 2 or 3 other players like going for this because they know it's consistent. So that's the paradox of it, right? If the limited back sizes, it makes it playing like kind of weird sometimes. And like another reason is it's so flexible early game, so that you can play whatever AP board and you can end up playing Lilia. Syndra, you can't just play whatever you want and go into Syndra. It's a lot harder because 1, you don't have the Dryad stacks built up. 2, you're likely not going to be holding like Ahri and Kindred and the supporting cast of the comp. So even if you say hit a Syndra 2, you're probably going to be putting like 1-star randoms in your comp, and you don't really want to do that late game or stage 4 onwards. So that's why I like Lilia a bit more. But then Syndra is also a good comp because if you get a faded opener, then you just play Syndra. It's just that simple. There's literally nothing else. You just play Syndra. You just play faded into faded. So it's like, it's great with a good faded opener. If you win streak, build Dryad stacks and you just keep winning. Early RE2 Rek'Sai too. I think Rek'Sai is really, really good as a tank actually for a 1-cost unit. So if you have tank items, you can stack a Rek'Sai and you build some Dryad stacks on her, you're probably going to have a good time. This is one of the comps where if you don't have a good opener, you want to lose streak because this comp uses a lot of tiers, right? Like we saw before that like Syndra's best in slot was like blue buff, adaptive, and then Rabadon's, right? And then you also want one tier for redemption and then another tier for potential like static shiv if you don't have Ionic Spark. So it's a bit of a problem. So that's whenever a comp really needs an item and you don't have a good opener for it to win streak, you should lose intentionally to get carousel priority. That's a general tip. But Boom is really good. It got buffed a little bit. They bug fixed it with Kindred, but I think it's still good with Syndra. So yeah. Zyra Ghostly, not much to say about this. It was a good comp last patch. It's still good now. If you get too healthy, right, a lot of Zyras, Shens, or Zoes, right? Because Zoe can also be the alternative carry or the primary carry. If you get more Zoes than Zyras, just like whatever, just say screw Zyra, go 7, and then roll for your final board, right? But yeah, it's really, really enabled by good augments like too healthy, but it's forcible with like AP items in general and niche augments like Ghostly Emblem, Haunted House. It's actually really good with like Prismatic Ticket and maybe even Trade Sector, you know. Most of the time, yeah, you only really like forces if you have really good augments, or you get a lot of the ghostly units or Zyras and Zoes, right? So then it's natural to just play it. You could try to force this every game, but there are cases where you'll low roll a lot. Ethereal Blaze Shen, I think is the best hero augment this patch because you can top 4 with legit just Shen 2. This comp is broken. It does not require much thinking, just throw in Behemoths and call it a day. The only thing that you really need is double Rage Blade and then a +1 item, but it's mainly double Rage Blade, or else he's too slow to stack his attack speed. Really, really good. You roll at 6 for Shen 3 if you're uncontested, because the only thing that matters is Shen 3. If you're contested, or say there's like a Ghostly Zyra player and he finds more Shens, just use Shen 2 and push level 8 or 9 and just get your top 4, top 3 and get out. The third item could be Bramble, could be Bloodthirster, but it can also be stuff like Edge of Night and even Declaw if it's a heavy like AP lobby. Exactly like I said. Yeah. Well, like, yeah. Also, if you see it and you have like half a complete item of Rage Blade, like you have a rod or a bow, to just take it. Or if you have obviously if you have a complete Rage Blade, just take it. I've seen people take it without any components, which is like sus, but hey, it can work, I guess. All right, now we are going to the A tier comps. They're not as good as the S tier comps, obviously, but they are definitely playable, especially in certain spots. It can win out the game sometimes. Fast 9 is always going to be decent, but the issue is, and this is always going to be the problem with Fast 9, is it's too expensive, right? It's too reliant on a high roll board early mid game, and then it relies on like a lot of econ, so too inconsistent. But if you hit everything, sure, you're probably going to win. Just hit everything. 3 head. Story Champion, still good. It's not S tier as previous patches, but still decent. But I definitely would just pick this up if I have like 2 or 3 Garens already and my items aren't looking bad. In Challenger, this if you play this from behind, it's not that great. Same with Lucky Paws. If you play both comps from behind, you can definitely have a bad TFT game, but play from head, guaranteed top 4. It does fall off a little bit though, this comp, a little bit, because you're gonna lack damage without like the 5 costs in the back, like Aurelia and stuff like that. I put more here for like just as a standard AP holder, but I think a lot of times you want to end up on Hui and Aurelia. Same with Lucky Paws. Snipers, they're really good last patch, but now I would say, if I had to put it accurately, I would say they're legit like A or A minus, because I think they are way too reliant on high rolling, aka getting like Sniper Crown or pumping up. Especially Sniper Crown, because it gives you straight Felios and Rage Blade, and then your early game is like settled. I think this comp has a lot of more requirements to top 2 this patch than before. It's still decent, but this is one of the reasons why AD Flex is not that great right now. If they nerf this comp, which is one of the only playable AD comps last patch, then there's not much else because, well, it was the only playable AD comp, really. So, Lucky Paws, same deal with Garen. If you hit it really early and you start snowballing, probably guaranteed top 2. But if you hit it late from behind, what happens is that you won't have enough gold to access Aurelian Hui or the Silas 2 and Gallia 2 because you're going to be 2 behind, and the other players will be taking these units away. So what happens is the rest of the team you die, and then the Kabuka will be like 7v1'd in overtime and you get a 7th or 8th. But I think it's still really good. Like, if you have defensive items, you have a lot of Kabuka, just take it. It's fine. This is like a sleeper comp. It's pretty good right now, especially with the Lux buffs. It's just, you roll out 7 a lot of times for Zoe 3, Lux 3, and Mumu 3, Lawi 3, but I doubt you'll be able to get a Lawi 3 a lot of times because a lot of comps play it, right? The Lilia comp plays it, Ghostly, Zyra plays it, but you might be able to get Mumu 3 because snipers aren't as great anymore, so you might have games where people won't be playing snipers, aka taking Mumus. So then, if you get like Arcanist Spat, right? You definitely want to put it on a Mumu, and then you go for Mumu 3, Zoe 3, Lux 3, and then if you really want like a Arcanist emblem, so then you can put it on Mumu, obviously, and then have 4 Warden later on at 8. 8 Arcanist is kind of a bait, but if you have nothing else to throw in, then I guess it's okay. This is like a solid A tier comp, I would say. If you high roll, you can win pretty easily, actually. And this is the Heavenly +1 comp. You need an emblem for it, otherwise you don't play this at all. It's just literally just Heavenly and then Lee Sin and Kayn like early in the set, but I don't know. Heavenly doesn't feel that great this patch. It's okay. If you high roll, it's a solid top 3. But if you play from behind, you're like 20 HP at level 8, you roll down and you hit, that's the fastest 6 you've ever seen. Unless you hit everything. It's okay. I think it's worse than the 4 Reaper variant for sure. And then Midnight Siphon, say it's a solid like A to A- hero augment. It's not as good as the other ones. I forgot to put Drop Blossom in here, but Drop Blossom is in the same category as this, I would say. I mean, if you high roll and then you get your X3 really fast, yes, you could probably top 2 easily, but he's just not as strong and consistent. He's not nearly as strong as like Ethereal Blades in my opinion, because Ethereal Blades you could top 2, you could top 3 or 4, not top 2, off of Shen 2, but Yorick 2, I don't see that happening often. In Challenger anyways. And Trick Shots is the other AD comp. Issue with Trick Shots is I think you can really only win out without like that's a solid augment. Say you're just playing, taking whatever, like Unified, and just playing like, you don't have like 2 healthy and then the Trick Shot augment. If you don't have like goated augments, a lot of times this comp wants like Fortune to give you extra resources, and then when you cash out, you can just play into this. Plus the Fortune gives you extra gold, so you can actually hit the Silas 2, Gallia 2, Kaisa 2 at 8. I'd say the only circumstance where you could play into this and get like a top 2 without Fortune is when you're like 100 HP win streaking with Sivir. You have a lot of gold from win streaking, and then like you have a strong Story Weaver opener, and then you just play into this at 8, or even skip 8 and go 9 and look for the Zyra 2 Udyr 2, then yes, you could probably do pretty well. And you have to have good augments for it. If you're just taking econ augments and you're just playing this flexibly, it doesn't do well a lot of times. But I'd say this is a solid A tier comp. Well, not much to say here. With the 3 cost shop odds buff, right? They changed it from what, 35% to 40%, something like that. At level 7, Bard's back. You just set at 7 and roll for Tahm Kench 3 and Bard 3. Really want stuff like Pumping Up, Prismatic Ticket. Pandora's is really good in this because Bard is not playable without these specific items. You really want double Rage Blade and you want healing of some sort. Gunblade's good because it heals Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench, Declaw's good, obviously. I think if you can get certain artifacts for this comp, it makes this comp a lot better. Like Forbidden Idol for Kench and Wit's End for Bard. Alright, we are going to talk about early game openers like we do for all the meta reports. It's easy because you would just do Kha'Zix into Reapers, right? A lot of people get too attached to the early game units, right? Kha'Zix sometimes is in the final board. But you need an early game holder, and then Kha'Zix 2 is Kha'Zix 2, so he just holds items. You hope you get another one. Just play heavily around him, and then once you get Yone, maybe you could do like Yone instead of Kindred, and then what's his face? Yorick, right, at 6 and stuff for Umbral and Behemoth. But if you have AP items, just keep Kindred and Kha'Zix or whatever. And then this is the AP Story Weaver, like I said. I didn't put Teemo in here, but It's either Zyra or Zoe carry backline, and then the other story Reaver units, right? If you have Garen tank, you just throw in Alawi or Mumu, any warden, right? And then add in Bruiser once you get Riven. Pretty simple. And then you just use this to carry yourself into Lilia. If you get a Teemo or a Teemo 2 early and you have AP items, you could do Teemo and Sivir in the backline. So it's pretty self-explanatory. And this is like, I'm sure you guys know this. The Fade opener into Faded. Ari and Kindred, I just play AP items here. Like, it could just be any kind of AP items. If you have to make Spear or Shojin, just make it. Only if you're win streaking. If you have to make Morello, Namcon, just make it, right? Don't be too greedy. You'll find more Syndra items later. And then, yeah, just these two are carrying the AP items. And then frontline, if you get a Rek'Sai 2, I really like her as a tank. And then you would just add in Bruiser or something. Because Rek'Sai 2 is a beast, I think. Otherwise, it could be Yasuo or Thresh as the tank. You know, like standard Faded games. Sniper Ink Shadow is another comp early game. I mean, like this is just like last patch. Getting an extra item through Ink Shadow is really nice. So if you get like a Felios drop with good items for H-Blade, snipers are still playable. I would angle towards it and get my free top 4. Then, if, like I said before, if you have a nice Sivir opener, you can just play that into trick shots. But if you can get Fortune early, I would definitely play Fortune, then intentionally feed a little bit. Like grief your board to start getting Fortune stacks. Okay, so Augment tier list. These are all like statistically well-performing augments, but I selected specifically these for a reason. Sleight of Hand, good for flexible tempo play if you have a strong board. Like an upgraded tank. It's good on tanks, but it's good on any upgraded unit. But specifically on tanks, so they can make use of the HP buff early game. Sniper Crown's really good. It's what makes snipers like actually still good this patch, but without it, snipers are not that good. But if you can get this, it's a good opener. Fade Crown, good tempo, augment. Arcanist Crown is really good because it gives you a Zoe straight up and gives you a static shiv. So it's just a lot of front load early game power. And then you can just play into Arcanist reroll. Reaper Crown, Reaper's broken. Ethereal Blades, I think it's Grim Harvest. Grim Harvest, Reapers are broken. Too healthy, good for Zyra, good for Kaisa. Caretaker's Ally, just if you high roll, like a Lux or something, is really good. You can make use of almost anyone, by the way. Zyra, Shen, really good as well. Kiana, you can just force duelists. I'd say in most cases, you can make use of them because a lot of the 2 costs got buffed this patch. And then Story Champion, Lucky Paws, Invoker Crown, Mythic Crown helps you cap out really hard, potentially at 9, if you can get there. If you can reach it, it's borderline S tier, but if you can't, it's decent, but it makes your cap a lot higher. Build a Bud, insane early game econ and strength. Long Shot, still good. Boiling Point, statistically good, but I don't think it's like S tier. And Heavenly Crown, Heavenly Crest, Combat Caster, Midnight Siphon, like they're decent, right? They're decent. But yeah. Basically, this is a 14.12 patch. Hope this was good info. Yeah, I tried to make it more elaborate each time, but you know, trying to find the sweet spot with this. But I hope you guys liked it, and drop a like in this up.